Time methinks too short to make a world without end bargain in. Hi, my name's Joe, and I'm going to be doing a quick bit of analysis of Love's Labour's Lost. It's the monologue upon which the play's title sort of depends. It is the moment when love's labours are truly lost. Who'd have thunk? For a bit of context, the main plotline concerns Ferdinand, the King of Navarre, and three of his noble friends, who take an oath and decide that for 3 years they're going to dedicate themselves to studying. And because of this, they're going to be chaste, so that they're not distracted, and they're really going to devote themselves to this cause. Their plans are immediately foiled when the Princess of France and three of her ladies come to the court. It goes relatively smoothly for most of the play. That is right up until the end in Act 5, Scene 2, when all of their merriment and revelry is suddenly interrupted by the news that the King of France, the princess's father, has just died. Mood killer. Just as the ladies are about to leave, the men choose this moment and make a last-ditch effort and declare their love for the women. And this is where the monologue begins. So, the first line is actually a response to Ferdinand, who, in the previous line, says, "Now, at the latest minute of the hour, grant us your loves." To which the princess replies, "A time methinks too short to make a world without end bargain in." The world without end bargain, of course, being the notion of love. That this is something which is eternal and holy. It has weight and gravitas to it. It's something that shouldn't be rushed, especially not at the last minute. For me, the princess is quite a decisive character, and it's nice to show that she's quite firm with this. Not that there's, not that it's particularly hard or stubborn. There's still room for tenderness here, but it's good to have that firmness of mind, I think. "Your grace is perjured much, full of dear guiltiness." What this is effectively saying is that you've broken your oath. His vow to study for 3 years and not see women at all was broken immediately. And I think that, of course, there's that interesting contrast between the words dear and guiltiness. You've got the idea that love, as a noble and well-intentioned pursuit, is still the cause of his guilt. Dear is a good word to stress because it softens the blow a little bit. It says, yeah, you've lost your integrity, but your motivation was all right, I guess. "And therefore this, if for my love, as there is no such cause, you will do aught, this shall you do for me." Which is, it's fairly simple. It's, if your love is true and you're determined to prove it such, then do this for me. "Your oath I will not trust, but go with speed to some forlorn and naked hermitage, remote from all the pleasures of the world. There stay until the 12 celestial signs have brought about the annual reckoning." It's quite neat because what she's effectively asking him to do is to fulfill at least a fraction of his oath, which, thanks to her arrival, I guess, was unfulfilled. "If this austere, insociable life change not your offer made in heat of blood," the offer of love. "If frosts and fasts, hard lodging and thin weeds nip not the gaudy blossoms of your love." Gaudy as something which is bright, a bit garish, a bit excessive maybe. We can sort of interpret that as a kind of strength to its love. The gaudy blossoms of your love, the bright blossoms of your love, the vivid blossoms of your love, the strength of your love. But gaudy, of course, also has some other connotations. The connotations, as I said, of excess, of extravagance, of superficiality. And that's not to say that Ferdinand's love is tasteless or tacky or whatever. But I think that it is superficial in the sense that it's naive. It's more merriment than it is commitment currently. Whilst the tone has shifted, suddenly we've got the news that your father's died, and you're like, okay, flirting is not what I'm thinking about right now. That there was and is still that attraction. That the circumstances have changed dramatically, but that doesn't mean that the memory of what was there has been forgotten. That, hey, you're someone that I do love, I just can't think about that right now. I'm only putting this in place so that I can take the time that I need to mourn. And in the meantime, you've also got to show this. And so it has that double function, that it serves her well and it also serves him very well. The monologue ends with a final couplet. If this thou do deny, let our hands part, neither entitled in the other's heart. And I think that this is quite a lovely end, really. It's the idea that she's laid out her needs already. She said that she needs to mourn her father and he needs to prove that he's a man of integrity. And then she returns the agency to him. She shows her vulnerability and her strength as well as her maturity and says that, look, if our principles and our values don't align, then we're clearly not a match. No biggie. It's a lovely, honest approach, a lovely, open approach also to a relationship. I think that it's a great monologue, really. I think that it's got a fascinating sense of vulnerability and strength, and those two are a lovely sort of contrasting combo that work together really well. I like the idea that, you know, when the king's death, it comes out of left field a bit, but because of that, we get to see the text explore different representations and ideals of what love is and what it should be. That I think that Ferdinand's last minute sort of desperate bid for love is something that we've all seen before. It's very kind of Ross and Rachel, or any rom-com, not to be completely reductive. It's a very performative, dramatic, superficial and theatrical kind of love. It's also self-righteous love in the sense that it believes that the idea of boy gets girl is all that's needed to resolve any conflict and to constitute a happy ending. That love results in closure. That is the end of all problems, and well, that is your happy ending. But of course, that isn't the case, and that's something which the princess, I think, is fully aware of. That her idea of love is far more mature and authentic, and by deferring the offer of her love, she forces the audience to acknowledge the fact that love isn't a form of resolution or of closure. Beyond the declarations of love, problems persist and responsibilities remain, and that's something which, you know, you can't ignore. Love isn't the be-all and the end-all. It can't just live on the good times. It also has to experience the bad, and it's the perseverance through that bad that makes it such a wonderful thing. I think that the princess is such a strong character, and these themes, mainly of grief and of love, are so universal in their scope, that it feels quite natural to read it as a man, I think. And that's, I guess that's a bit surprising in a way. It's surprising just how natural it is to try to embody this character, because once you've gone over the text again and again and again, and you're familiar with it, you get to a stage where the character's sex barely even registers for you, despite the fact that her name's Princess, of course. A time methinks too short to make a world without end bargaining. No, no, my lord, your grace is perjured much, full of dear guiltiness. And therefore this, if for my love, as there is no such cause, you will do aught, this shall you do for me. Your oath I will not trust, but go with speed to some forlorn and naked hermitage, remote from all the pleasures of the world. There stay until the 12 celestial signs have brought about the annual reckoning. If this austere, insociable life change not your offer made in heat of blood, if frosts and fasts, hard lodging in thin weeds nip not the gaudy blossoms of your love, but that it bear this trial and last love. Then, at the expiration of the year, come, challenge me by these deserts. By this virgin palm now kissing thine, I will be thine. Until that instant shut my woeful self up in a mourning house, raining the tears of lamentation for the remembrance of my father's death. If this thou do deny, let our hands part, neither entitled in the other's heart.